please.
Hello again. Welcome to M.E.D Conversations, Moni, Ema and Dawn. And last week was totally amazing. We tried to, I think that was week before last, because we tried to record last week. Moni was in charge. Moni was in charge. I'm just putting that there, that Moni was in charge of the recording.
We have the recording, we just don't have the audio. That's all.
And it went haywire. So
we can actually look for a way to put some subtitles on that one and send it out.
Many apologies for that.
That was one of the best recordings we had.
It truly was, but
personal.
perhaps it wasn't meant to go out.
Yeah.
Okay, I repeat again, Moni was in charge of that one. And today it swung back to Emma. So we're going to talk about the pandemic, just general, how it has been, how it has affected everybody or us individually. I'm sure you'll find resonance in one or two of our words concerning this situation. 2020 has been a grueling year. It's also been a very, very interesting year. And after this, we'd love to hear your comments. So, Moni, I'm going to kick off with you. How have you managed since January 2020 up till now? There's been a lot of tears, no doubt.
And in particular, being in the front line, being a frontline doctor as well. This is very interesting.
Yeah.
I was going to say I'm not going to speak since you said I was in charge last week.
You're in charge of the technology.
These are what we have kids for. I told you, these are what we have kids for. Let the kids handle all these things.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you again.
Yes.
2020 has been an amazing year, an unprecedented year. It started with joy at my sister's 50th birthday, a happiness for her life. And very, very quickly, we dipped into the valley of deep grief. And that brought with it tears. And even in the grief, it was joy of a life well spent. And very quickly, again, we went into the pandemic. It's been a year for me of thinking on my feet. It's been a year of no procrastination. What do you have to do? Do it. Whatever anybody thinks or says. With regards to the pandemic especially, it's helped me grow. At the beginning, my family felt, no, you can't be part of it. No, stay home. We'll pay you. Stay home. And it was very tempting. Yes. But I looked inwards and I realized that, you know what, is beyond the money. Even if you paid me, I'd still go to work. And so I decided, good or bad, I was going to be true to myself and I was going to be in the middle of the pandemic, so to speak. I've worked in a COVID hub from March the 23rd till date. I've seen COVID inside, outside, all ramifications. I've seen the survivals, I've seen the deaths, I've seen the laughter, I've seen the tears. It has brought a lot of anxiety, even for me, which I didn't realize was there till the government made announcements like, lockdown is being lifted, and you just feel yourself exhaling. And I thought I was doing well. So, I've also seen.
So wait, hang on a minute. You feel yourself exhaling. You don't even realize you're holding yourself in tension?
Not at all. Not at all.
The intensity of the work just takes over.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a racing driver who, when you get into that flow, it's like adrenaline,
Yes, not at all. you know, inside all of that, there's been normal family happenings, laughter, joy, all of that. So life has gone on as well. But one thing that I learned very, very early in the pandemic was just do it. Whatever it is, just do it. You know, every cloud, there's a silver lining. In every adversity, there's opportunity. And I must say for myself, and I thank God that I have had much more opportunities. I've met amazing people in this pandemic than I've done in my entire career. So I don't wish for this pandemic again. I don't think I have the strength to do it again, but I don't regret what I've been through this past 6 months.
Do you find that you've, in as much as you've gained friends, like you just said, you've met amazing people, have you lost friends along the way?
Not
do you
literally.
Say, maybe I should rephrase that. Do you see things with more clarity now?
100%, 100%, 100%. And chatting with one of my brothers, he says I'm the master of 0 to 100.
Okay.
Because I see a situation, I see people, and very, very quickly I cut to the chase. I didn't realize I was doing it until it was pointed out to me. You know, nobody is interested in all the external trappings anymore. You know, let's get down to business. Let's get down to what we have to do. It was almost like being in a permanent race against time. You know, so in terms of friends, I've lost friends deliberately because I have chosen to let go. I've chosen to move on. I haven't had any death that has been close to me from the COVID pandemic, thank goodness. And I do sympathize with people who have lost loved ones, you know, but it's just narrowed everything to what's important, end of.
I was going to ask you a controversial question, but I think I'll skip that. And
yes, please, Emma. I like controversial.
Do you think the fear is justified from what you have experienced, from what you have seen? Does it seem like the fear that is actually being pushed by mainstream media, is it justified? Are we looking at a situation that is as terrible as they make it to seem, as they make it out to be?
In my personal opinion, which is what I did practice through this pandemic and what I said to my children on a very regular basis, in every adversity, there is opportunity. Look beyond the adversity. Grab what you can.
What opportunity you can.
Whatever presents itself, take it and run. Okay. So I've done things in this pandemic that some people might look like, but what about COVID? And I'm like, yes, what about it?
Exactly, my point.
You know, it's here. So do I think that it's being hyped, you know, to scaremongering to the public? Personally, I think so.
Yes.
And that is what
Never waste a good crisis. That's what the politicians do.
You know, I struggle with trying to explain to people, please carry on. Don't stop. Carry on.
I mean, take the precautions necessary, but...
Obviously.
I mean, I am in Bali. Let me give you 350,000 Chinese come to Bali every month.
Oh, wow.
Now, let that number sink in. 350,000 come through Bali every month. Now,
come to and
Wuhan,
come through.
Come through.
Okay.
Visit Bali. From Wuhan, they said an average of 30,000 people from Wuhan come to Bali every month. So in January and February, a lot of us had this strange flu. I was down with it. I spoke to you about it. Remember in January when I said I had a throat infection that I thought it was from a bad cigar. And I was down for about 10 days. And it became a respiratory thing. And I have my usual steps that I take to go through it because I don't take conventional medication. I use traditional medication. So that and some exercise and a lot of things that I take, I was okay after about 10, 12 days. And then eventually, just as a backup, my wife insisted I take antibiotics. So I just did a 3-day course and then literally it cleared. Okay. If anybody asks me if I've experienced what COVID is, I'd say yes, because if you go through all the narrative symptoms, it's more or less the same thing, what I went through, but it wasn't as severe. I mean, I could breathe, but short of breath. I understood that, because when I was a kid, I had asthma, so I understood how to deal with, all of those things attacking me. And because I travel a lot and I don't take, like I said, since 2007, I've been off Western medication. I have to keep making different supplements in order to keep my health up. And so I have certain routines and regimens that I practice. So January, February, a lot of people like me, a lot, and I'm talking about maybe a few thousand, had this. It came through Bali, nobody knew what it is or knew what it was. Come March, April, May, COVID, then everybody's in panic mode. It's come through already. And nobody's paying any attention. A doctor had to say that, look, this thing must have passed through many people, asymptomatic or whatever, but most of the people would have had it. It must have come through. 350,000 Chinese, come on, if it started in China, it's here already. It's just 5 hours. And they were everywhere. I mean, when you come to Bali, when you visit Bali, Chinese are everywhere.
Everywhere.
So it's an inescapable thing. And me, they come to my shops. How do you want to do it? And a few of my staff were ill too.
Oh, wow.
There was a point, Bali is kind of lapsed. It's not so intense with the hysteria, although economically it has impacted everybody. Because this is a hospitality town. Everybody's in the hospitality business. There was a point where the fear was so hyped, it didn't make sense. People didn't even leave their houses. But I refused to buy into the fear. I've been kicked out of supermarkets. I've been kicked out of shops many times because I don't wear a mask. They always tell me, even the ATM, you can't withdraw money without the mask. Okay?
Wow.
Yeah, you have to, but I would speak to the man and says, well, it doesn't matter what you say, you can't enter that policy. I'm not going to argue, So that's why one of the reasons why I keep a lot of cash and one of the reasons why I take my money out of the banks, because it's all institutionalized. If they're restricting your movement into specific institutions, then it's all part of the same thing.
Okay, what kind of institutions do you think we are being, let me use the word, guided into?
Let's look at it this way. I've never known, there's a stretch of road. This is the analogy I use. There's a stretch of road not too far from here. It's about 150 meters. It has potholes. They fill it up with sand and blocks. And that thing has been that way for the past 6 years. They just fill it with, rain comes, flood comes, they just put blocks and sand. All of a sudden, there's COVID, and you have the funds to set up checkpoints everywhere, give away masks, and keep 15 to 20 staff at every stationary checkpoint. You can't fix a 100-meter stretch of road that is intense with traffic. Now, I don't know how it affects other people, but that tells me enough about the government already.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think we should expand on that, but that just tells me enough about the government. So I've never known any government to really care about me that much, to worry about my health that much, especially when they can't build the hospitals for me. Hello?
So how has it impacted your friendships? Like the same question I asked Moni. Have you lost friends? Have you gained new friends?
My answer might be a little bit flax because I don't have that many friends anyway. So I've always
Okay,
been.
how about
You've gained
how
me.
about you?
Oh no,
How about
you have family, Moni. Moni, you have family. There's a difference. You've always been family. We grew up together. I've known you from forever. You know, those
Okay.
ones are people who they're implanted in your life. The people that I put into that category, they're implanted. Like I've known you forever. You know, I'll
True.
continue to know if I've eaten in your house, I've crashed in your boys' quarters. You know, what is there? You know, Charles, and you know what I mean. We don't need to expand it. You know, we've had a relationship at one point in time. We grew up together. So I
Yeah.
don't equate that into, like my friend Tony says, if you want to actually know who's your friend, take 20 years off. Anything
Good one.
that, 20 years off, people that are 20 years back, you can actually put them into that category because they know all about you. They've seen you grow. You know, they can
Yeah.
appreciate you then and now. They can see the difference and they still appreciate you. I don't use that term very loosely. I don't have that many friends. If you can't come to my house and sit down with me and my daughter and my wife and eat, we're not even there. So me in Bali, I really have, if any, I have a lot of acquaintances. I
Okay.
used to be a
So
socialite, so I know people. So I haven't really gained or lost anybody. And to borrow the pun from that film, what's it again? With say frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Really doesn't
okay, so
bother me.
how have you grown? How have you grown personally in the crisis,
Well,
in the
it's
pandemic?
one, it's brought me and my family a lot closer. We
I think I
spent
should
more
take
time.
note of that word.
Yeah. Yeah. Like my relationship with my wife has evolved. We have become closer friends. My daughter and me, we talk. I've become more. I've started to love with less fear. That's the only way I can put it. I've
That's a
started to,
great way to put it.
to love with less
No.
fear. I'm not intimidated by the situation simply because I accepted that I was going to die anyway. I'm never going to get off this rock alive. I know I'm going to die. So what's the point in being afraid of dying? You know, it's going to happen. It's inevitable. I can't stop that. Like we talked about St. Francis of Assisi. Remember the serenity to accept the things I
Yeah.
cannot change. Am I going to change the fact that I'll die? I'm not. So, hey, I don't want the pain. Yeah. I don't want the pain. Hence the reason why I take all my supplements. But I can't change the final situation. So for
Yeah.
me, I've just come into this position where, especially turning 50 again, with the pandemic.
You've learned to let go.
Yeah, just let go and just accept what's happening and appreciate
And
what's
just
happening.
go with the
Go
flow,
with it
whichever
because
way.
I look at my kids, I look at my life. Okay, it impacted my business heavily, but
Okay.
we sort of like
Pivoted.
the way we do business is we've always had that two-tier type business platform. So I was able to evolve the business slightly to another direction to cope, and then because we have a lot of staff and lots of people lose their jobs, and I couldn't afford to so change a lot of things, but now we're picking it up. It's not as
Do you
terrible as it
think
was.
that? Do you think people have evolved more in this pandemic? More people have evolved, and those that you think may not have evolved, what do you have to say to them?
I don't know.
Moni, what do you
I
think?
think there's been crisis in the world since time began.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there will still be crisis going forward. And I think everybody wakes up at their own morning. So I don't necessarily think...
We're recording it, so I'm going to keep that. Everybody wakes up at their own morning. That's a
Yeah.
that's a T-shirt waiting to happen. Wake up at your own morning. That's a powerful T-shirt.
So I don't think that there's been many more people that have become woke, as the young people will say.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it happened when it happened. It didn't happen 1 minute sooner. Nothing our
Oh,
friends or our parents could have said to us. It's an individual thing. You get it or you don't get it. It comes to you in your own time. Some people get it from childhood. Some people get it quite young in life, 20s. Some people never get it. Some people in their 70s and 80s, they get that light bulb moment, So for people who are already in that frame of mind, they will recognize their tribe in crisis. But it doesn't necessarily mean, in my opinion, that more people have become woke in this. What is very obvious to me is the amount of fear that is just lying subconsciously in masses of people, and is showing in every action, every aspect of their life. But that's fine, because once upon a time, maybe that's what older people would have said about me.
Yeah.
So it's just accepting this is what it is. Do what you have to do. Don't dwell on the negatives at all.
The new normal. Dawn, let's move that question to you now. The question you asked
okay.
both me and Moni, because I'm very interested to hear your own perspective in particular. The reason why I said in particular is because we talk quite frequently and we have similar views on one or two things. Moni's own was crucial because of the fact that she's
a
frontline.
Yeah, she's a frontline
I really
doctor.
needed to know that because I know one or two people who are in the front line, and unfortunately, I lost one.
Condolences.
Yeah, I lost one. I lost my stepsister too during this particular crisis. So we've experienced a few losses. Some were relative, some were not relative. But this one was like my cousin's husband, who was a frontline doctor, and he died. I think he had some complications as well, which, it accentuates when you have some medical complications, which is what we've been told. But coming to it from your perspective, Dawn, is because you have this thing about positivity,
Right.
and manifestation. How has it affected your ability to continue to see the world as a beautiful place?
Well, coming in from January,
because I don't, sorry, just to cut you short. I don't see the world as a beautiful place. Sorry, I don't. I think the world is shit, but that's just me. Back to you.
Yeah, coming in from January till now, there's been stopgaps. March, I was ill, but I think I made myself ill from the fear, and once the blinkers fell off my eyes that no, I was actually fine. I didn't have COVID, I just thought to myself, or I felt to myself, not thought to myself. I felt to myself that this was an opportunity, and to totally reinvent myself, reinvent my life, and grow, So I ran with it, literally ran with it. I looked up wellness, well-being, in all areas and all facets of my life. And I was determined to make that a part of who I was. We were, my family and I. And the results have been phenomenal. Funny enough, it was Moni who was my doctor, and who kept reassuring me then at the time in March, because your mind is such an amazing thing, guys, because fear will make you manifest whatever symptoms you are afraid of.
Paralyzes you.
Yes.
Paralyzes you.
It will make you, it will just manifest all the symptoms you are afraid of. You understand? And my heart was going. I was having, I felt every negative illness emotion I could feel. And I wasn't ill per se. You know, I didn't have COVID, but I thought I was dying. I really thought I was dying. I couldn't sleep. And I literally, and she knows I hate hospitals. So for me to keep insisting, keep calling her, keep saying, something is wrong, you know. I've just believed that I had COVID, but when I found out that there was no COVID, I thought, oh boy, okay.
No COVID in you or no COVID at all?
No COVID at all.
Okay.
No COVID at all.
Okay. I don't want us to go further on that because
we know the direction
we know what we're
might
talking
go in.
about, yeah, but we'll keep it there.
So I thought if I made changes, at least the people surrounding me would get the effect of the changes first. You know, it will spill over to them. Now, it's not everything I do with words. Like I said, at the beginning, I felt to myself that I needed to make changes. You know, so I said, okay, if I make changes, it's good to lead by example anyway, rather than words. Because you may talk to your blue in the face and they're not getting it. But if they actually see or if they actually feel the changes that you're going through, then they would begin to ask questions. Then they would get it. Then they would, understand like, oh, how is she navigating this? How can I apply what she's applying in her life to my life? Because I wanted results. I didn't want it to be business as usual.
Yeah.
I wanted results. And I didn't want for sure to go back to the place I had come from.
And that's why I said when you're woke, it's your morning.
Yeah. We have to patent that, trademark it, whatever, but that's but you can see the difference, because it's like a soldier and a civilian walking into a battlefield. The soldier is trained to respond to hostile fire. The civilian is not. So the minute gunfire breaks, the soldier takes a defensive position, looks for the source of the gunfire, while the civilian is running around helter-skelter in a state of panic and exposing themselves to the potential for a bullet to hit them. This is the same thing with you and Moni dealing with the COVID. That's why I was very interested to see the difference.
Right, yes.
Because
I didn't have she has the experience.
Exactly. Because
she's a doctor.
Just as a doctor, she
knew how to respond automatically.
Automatically. You can actually take one of those injections and stab your heart. You know, one of those injections. Have you ever done that? Have you ever done that? That thing scares the hell out of me, man.
Well, thank you for your vote of confidence, but I do have colleagues that couldn't face it.
Yeah, that's why there's a difference between soldiers. There's a soldier that is good for combat, and there's a soldier that is good for the canteen. But they're both soldiers.
Yeah.
Both of them receive the same military training, but one works in the canteen, and one carries the medical equipment, and one is at the front line actually exchanging fire.
Yeah.
And so this is the situation. This is the reality of it. Personally, I'm enjoying this period. I'll give you some reasons why. One, because
honestly, it's so ironic.
Yeah.
The
world has never known a period like this where you have to, at some point in time, regardless of your choice, to be ignorant. Because right now, in this day and age, ignorance is definitely a choice. It's not one of those. It's not a byproduct of. It's not a byproduct of any kind of authoritarian rule. It is a choice because you can Google anything and get something. Yeah,
I agree.
So it it avails the opportunity to see the world become introspective. Go inside
That's
because there's
why I
nothing
asked
left
about
outside to trust.
precisely.
And that's what I'm
Precisely.
looking forward to. When you
Yes.
realize that the institution that you rely on, the celebrity worship, you see, there's one thing I was
Everything
thinking about this morning.
is broken down.
Yeah, there's something I was thinking about this morning before.
Or at least cracked. There's cracks everywhere.
Everywhere. Before I was going to actually do a recording this morning about fear, because there's something that I've always had, you know, something that they taught us when we're in school: false evidence appearing real. Fear. Yeah. And then you sit down and you wonder, in a world where the messenger is always attacked rather than people embracing the message, in a world where people equate morality with wealth. If you have money,
wealth
you
building?
automatically assume that you are of a good moral standing, and this is wrong. And that's the reason why we are so messed up, because people just think, oh, this guy has money, this guy must be good, or he must know something. Yes, he must know something with a moral standpoint. Because we equate power with money. Power you associate with authority, control, and governance. And so all of a sudden we've just encapsulated that whole ideology and chucked it with power. So you see some stupid celebrity doing this or that, and you just copy it simply because you think that, oh, this is coming from a place of trust. What is the trust there? This avails the opportunity for all of us to look inside ourselves and find
your own power.
Find your own self. Love who you are, and stop loving the object. Stop loving the personification of that thing that is external, but begin to look what's inside. And I think that's one of the benefits of this COVID. It gives us, sorry to the people who have suffered to the loss of life. I'm not saying that I'm happy about that, but I'm saying for the living.
It's forced us to stop.
Yes, we have to stop and start living and not just existing. You know,
but that, Emma, is a double-edged sword. You know, I agree with you entirely. I said earlier that COVID has taken away all the external trappings, you know, good or bad. We're now left with the bare skeleton, however it is, and we must learn to love that. The sadness about it, the other side of the sword, is people have grown from birth to middle age to coming to old age. They have never even known themselves, not to talk about loving themselves. So what COVID has now done is Mr. X has knocked on the door and they don't know who it is.
Exactly.
They, you know, there's a massive identity crisis going on.
There is.
Which
That's
is translating.
You can't find where you're going to unless you get lost. You need to get lost in order to find yourself. So
that is correct. But, you know, I'd rather be lost at 30 than at 70.
You know, which is true. No, but it's true. It's true. I agree with you. But you see, the thing is, okay, let's take one example. And this is an example I seldom use, but I'll just use it just for this, yeah? Let's look at Mr. Ray Kroc. If you want to look in terms of financial success, he made his first million when he was 59. I mean, this guy had been trying every single thing known to man until he sold some multiplexes to two brothers that were selling burgers and fries for, was it 15? I don't know how much they were talking about, the McDonald's brothers. And then through his cunning genius, he actually bought the franchise and turned it into what it is today. Yes. And so when you look at that, it doesn't really matter when you learn about who you are. What really matters is that you learn about who you are, because life is the journey. We're not looking at the
it was Moni who said that when you're woke, that's your morning.
So if my dad was alive now and he became woke, I'd be happy. I'd be happy because all of a sudden he has a different perspective. I mean, you can imagine how that mentality has been ingrained over the years in their minds. They have been conditioned to think in a particular way, and that's a result of the environment that they found themselves in. And the environment is constantly evolving. So even us, our kids, are realizing a different future as compared to us. But the most important thing is that when you are in touch with your spirit and you know who that spirit and you are, you guys are intertwined and you become one. It doesn't matter what generation you wake up in, it's still the spirit. See what I'm saying? That's for me, that's the most important thing. I think it's going to catch on like wildfire. There will come a time when, because people usually grow at a time when they are facing the greatest difficulties.
True.
That's
True.
when you break through. It's when you get to that precipice that you can actually, overturn what's happening. So I know we're running out of time, but I'm going to stretch this a little bit. We can do another extra 10 minutes. Yeah. So because the thing is,
I used my coffee to time ourselves.
Yeah,
my last sip.
I used my drink and I've gone past time. But I think this thing is important because unless you actually tell yourself the truth, and I mean the real truth, if you're afraid, say I'm afraid. You can't overcome that fear unless you confess that fear exists. You can't overcome insecurity unless you confess it exists. You can't overcome any kind of situation that you're dealing with unless you confess that it exists. You can't cure a disease that you don't define.
Right.
So
that is very true. I agree with you totally.
COVID is about. I think COVID is giving us the chance to redefine our individual dis-ease. So we can now look within for the cure rather than looking outside, because that's the distraction from the cure. That's the reason why we repeat the same things over and over again, expecting a different result because of our distractions. We are living in one grand illusion of distractions. And we are about to break out of that, because if you go according to astrology, according to religion, everything is about to reset and a great awakening is inevitable. It has just begun. So
I agree with
see
that,
a new world now.
Yes, but we also have to be aware that, well, I'm just saying the same thing, I guess, in a different way. The dust has been raised.
Yes.
It's nothing is settled anymore. This is the norm anymore.
There are cracks everywhere.
Everywhere. And as that dust is settling, some people have to be a parachute or an umbrella for others. Because everybody's on free fall now.
Yes.
And it's extremely, extremely difficult for many people.
It is. I agree.
Emotionally.
That's why we're doing this.
Yes, that's why
that's the reason why we agreed
100%.
to do this. That's the reason why we have this conversation.
You have to just be there for people and show them that, there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to be afraid of. Just
by being there for yourself.
Yes, just live.
Just by, like when
Truly
you said
live.
We should have these conversations, if we can actually talk and help each other and learn from each other, that's already doing something counter to the system that, we're trying to overcome.
Create, yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because the system is a dishonest system, is a deceptive system. But here we are functioning in truth and in love and with no illicit intention. So everything we're doing is counter to the foundations of that system. We're going in the opposite direction. So we're now defeating the system. It's not about carrying a knife and going to
the system of COVID.
Burning COVID, everything. Call it what you want. It's the same system.
Yeah.
It's the same system. It's all deception. Everything that deceives you, that puts you in a position of helplessness, that puts you in a position of fear.
Yes, it would be good to qualify it, so it doesn't encompass, because I don't see it 100% as deceptive as you do.
Yeah. Now you know me, man. I'm a bit crazy now, so it's not like
No.
I'm tipping off the edge. I've been tipping off the edge for years. It's not today. Anybody who has been following me would know that. In fact, right now I sound normal because if I speak alone now, I'll be talking about aliens and stuff. All right. So on that note, I think. Oh no, I'm not supposed to close this.
Oh no, please do.
Okay. I've been given the privilege to close today.
And I hope your audio was on.
Yeah. I took a lot of precautions. No, this has been good. It's been interesting. One, because we can actually see a real life hero who's doing the work and helping people survive and go through what they're going through and reassuring them that they're like that lady who did the hydroxychloroquine thing, when she came on telly, it was very controversial, I understand. But if you just took the time to listen to what she said, you don't have to die. You don't have to die, and that death, I don't think it was just about, you don't have to physically die. You don't have to die inside here. Because when you lose hope, that's it.
Yes, you're dead.
You're dead, so Moni, as far as I'm concerned, you're one of my heroes because you're not just restoring the hope, you're actually giving them the opportunity to realize that hope exists. Dawn, also my hero because you're reassuring people that there's good inside of them. And by exposing your own vulnerability, you're actually reassuring people that where they are, they're not alone. Even if they feel like I'm alone, I'm weak. No, you're not alone. Somebody has gone through that and they've come out and they're telling you that, hey, it's all right to be weak. It's all right to be confused. It's all right to be fearful.
It's
I'm
possible
my own
to
hero
rise.
because I talk a lot. That's all. So on that note, we will close today. Thank you, everybody who watches this. We've set up a new platform, I think. We would post the videos.
Oh, wow. Well done.
We would post the video, and then you guys would have the opportunity to comment. You can actually send topics if you like. If you want us to talk about something, you can send us topics.
That would be good.
And we would discuss it. You can DM or send direct messages or email any of us, and I think I'll put some information on the show notes, to let you know how you can reach out to us, and we'll just keep it going. This is just us three trying to learn from us three.
Trying to be woke.
Yeah, trying to be woke. Yeah. Soon there'll be a gang sign with work. Yeah. And on that note, thank you, ladies. Thank you, my queens. Thank you so much. And we will do this next week. Have a lovely rest of the weekend. And love to family and everyone there. Yeah? Okay.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Dawn.
Bye-bye.